Markets down about 10 points now, so a little shaky at 53.76. Mid-caps are flat. IFCI is down another 4.5% at 28 rupees after that big drubbing it got on Friday. Atul Kumar joins me to talk about that now from IFCI. Atul, morning. First, let me ask you, you must have deliberated about over the weekend about your line of action. You have the right to prepay the government for the debentures. Have you made up your mind on whether you are going to offer that option to the government?
Good morning, Udayan. Yes, I have had occasion to reflect and deliberate on the development reported on last Thursday about the decision of the government, so-called decision of the government, to convert 400 crores of optionally convertible debentures into equity and an additional 523 crores of loan into equity. I think markets have spoken. The intention of the shareholders, how they view it is very clear. I don't think it has been viewed favorably. Right now I have only this cue to draw my lesson from. I think we will need to take a very serious look on the decision itself, whether it is a decision of the government which IFCI is bound to follow, looking at the adverse consequence it seems to be having, and whether IFCI should exercise the legal rights that it has to prepay in one case and to contest the claim altogether in the other.
So, what is your understanding as of now? It looks quite likely that you're going to make that offer of prepayment. Is the government bound to accept that if you're going to make that prepayment option or repayment option, or can the government reject it? Are you clear about the legality of it?
I think I am very clear about the legality of the documents that are there. I have made a distinction before, and I should make this distinction again, that there are two parts to the government action. The government decision, as it has been communicated, seems to state very clearly that government wishes to make this company into a government-owned company. And that is the decision which, as I said, the quality of that decision, how that decision has been arrived at, that is something which we will need to look at, and I think the character of the decision or the firmness behind that decision will only become known to us as we go along. I think there is a committee of secretaries which recommended it. There has been no consultation with IFCI. IFCI as a government entity existed there for 60 years. It ended up with accumulated losses of about 5,000 crores of rupees. From there until today we have covered that ground. We are now surplus to our net worth is positive in the range of about 4,500 crores of rupees. So I think all these things, the quality of decision in which IFCI has not been consulted, the legal nature of the documents which give the IFCI a right to prepay in one case and as I said, to contest the other, and the consequence that it seems to be having. These need to be looked at. Government as a sovereign, of course, can do whatever it likes. The government has nationalized banks before. So I think that is the distinction, whether government is trying to act as a sovereign with us and is trying to treat IFCI in the same way, or government is actually willing to respect the right of IFCI as a corporate citizen. These are things I think only time will tell, and we would be willing to negotiate and sit down with the government should they so decide that this is not a decision as yet, this is their intention. The final decision can only be arrived at with a company in consultation with its board, which may of course refer the matter to shareholders. So legally I am very certain that IFCI is on a very firm ground, but it can always be undone by the might of the sovereign power of the state, like any other entity can be undone.
So you are quite clear that you will resist this proposed move on the part of the government to convert its debentures into equity and make IFCI a fully government-run company. Personally, you're opposed to it, and you were saying that you have the support of the board and other independent shareholders on this move?
At this point of time, I'm not saying that I have the support of the board. The board has not met since. But what I am trying to say is that whatever you quoted at the beginning about the response of the markets, that is something that I am aware of now, that the shareholders do not think that it is a very positive development to allow the erosion of their value by around 20% over 2 days. And God knows where it is going to stop. So I think that is the verdict which has to be accepted with all humility and has to be negotiated through the apparatus which exists, that of the board and the general body of the shareholders. And as of now, all I am willing to say is that it does not seem to have allayed the fears of the shareholders that government will be a very benign shareholder of IFCI. Government would allow IFCI to function as it has functioned over the last 5 years, trying to do whatever it can in the business operating environment of this country. And as I said, making substantial profits year after year. So shareholders are certainly not do not seem very pleased, and that is a fact which I'm aware of. And we will negotiate it from here on with the consultation in the board and if necessary at the shareholder level.
Market reaction aside, Atul, have you reached out to any significant shareholder in the last 3 days to gauge their reaction and what they feel about it?
The largest shareholder is LIC. It has about 8.39%. LIC has been with IFCI for a long time, and I think given the nature of LIC, they are unlikely to have a very separate viewpoint from that of the government. The issue would be actually gauging the opinion or gauging the mindset or reaction of the 75% of the shareholders who are not government entities, and around 12 or 15% are FIIs. But the point is that the shareholding is very widely distributed. It is not very easy to consult shareholders. There are close to 1 million shareholders of this company. So I think the only way in which one can gauge the public opinion is by watching the markets, maybe following the media, what the reactions are, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, we can only have a consultation at the board level in the immediate present, and thereafter the shareholder general body meeting if required.
The other corollary or inference which a lot of people in the market have drawn is that now if it becomes a government-owned entity after the conversion of the debentures, that sort of rules out any possibility of induction of a strategic partner at any date, which was the hope for a lot of people for IFCI. Do you think it's the correct inference?
I think it is a very correct. The inference is on the dot. If there has been an erosion of 20% over 2 days, or not even full 2 trading sessions, then it is very clear that any investor would be wary of investing in an entity which is substantially owned by the government, when they have actually in 2007 already, I think, manifested their aversion to it, when there was no likelihood that it would be owned by the government, but there was only threat about the clarity of our capital structure. So this is how things stand. I don't think that the strategic investor option is an open option, and in fact not only the strategic investor option is a closed option with this decision. I think our ability to be able to make other entities public is also going to suffer a setback, because nobody wants to deal with the promoter who is owned by the government as far as the market is concerned. The market has viewed it adversely, and I think that is the verdict which will also impinge upon our plans to raise capital in our subsidiary companies.
What does it mean for you, Atul? Because, I mean, you've crossed swords with the government in the past. There have been allegations. Things have taken a legal turn. If this move were to be pushed through, is it the end of the line for you at IFCI personally?
I think the manner in which this decision has been arrived at, viewed against the performance of IFCI, does seem to suggest that if I have had any role altogether to play in rescuing IFCI from, let us say, the brink of disaster on which it was, that role is certainly something that government is willing to discount altogether, and is willing to take a chance upon, as I said, reintroducing the ways of decision making to which it was subject until 2007, which, as I said, ended up in huge losses of about 5,000 crores, questioning the viability and sustainability of this institution. So I think somewhere I will not be able to say that the conversion of the government would stop only with the conversion and would allow the management to continue. I think the intention of the government, the way it is stated in the Press Information Bureau note, the intention of the government is to make it government company. When the intention of the government is to make it a government company, they would certainly be entitled to and like to have a management or a CEO and MD who is their appointee. And one could even go further and say that God knows out of all these persons who have written the report, how many may be looking at being in the driver's seat in IFCI. So I think, as I said, this decision is something which will be consistent. With wanting a change of guard at IFCI. But this decision is something, again, which, as I said, has to be negotiated legally at present. And I think IFCI's case is a very strong case, which may end up only with the government having to invoke its sovereign power. It will not do for the government to rely upon its legal rights, because the legal right of IFCI to prepay is explicit, has been recognized by the government, and is contained in all the communications so far. So that is legally it is not possible, but government can invoke its sovereign power in several ways, including, of course, as you mentioned, CBI, police, and so on and so forth. So all those things are there, and somewhere, as I said, personally, one may have to make a choice, but that time has not yet come. I have not surrendered in that sense. As I said, looking at the shareholders' interest and so on and so forth, I think I'm entitled to carry on so long as the issues are alive and are possible to negotiate legally.
Good luck, Atul. Thanks for joining in today. That's the IFCI management categorically saying that they do not see eye to eye with the government's decision or proposed decision, and they will resist it to the best of their ability. Let's move now to JSW Steel. Today, metal stocks seem to be under some pressure. JSW Steel is up about 0.2 percentage points. Seshagiri Rao joins me to talk about that. Mr. Rao, every